We'd like to begin this podcast by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we meet today, the Whadjuk Noongar people, and pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. Hello, Mel.
Hi, Matt. How are you?
I'm all right. Somewhat. I was struggling a little bit today to sit in my seat.
You are. We won't.
We don't want to go too much into it.
No.
Oh, it's not good, Mel.
No, I know.
Have you ever had a pimple? Do you know what a pimple is?
I do, but no, I haven't.
It's a pimple on your bum. And then it turns into something even worse. And it's turned into something. I've got a bum infection, Mel. There's a big hole in my butt. So I'm a bit angry today.
I don't know what to say.
I don't know what to feel. I don't know what to feel at all. It's episode 44. Welcome back to Talking Couch Potatoes. We've got a great one today, Mel.
We do.
We've got a very special guest.
Yeah.
We've got the president of Animal Justice Party. Big shout out to our newest local member as well, Amanda Dorn, Member of Parliament.
I know. I was at her inaugural speech in the gallery at Parliament House.
You were there.
Yeah. And it was so, I can't explain it. I cried. I don't think of myself as a very emotional person.
No, your heart is a rock, Mel.
I'm just an ass most of the time. But
don't. It's not the time to mention asses, please.
Sorry.
Too soon. Way too soon.
It was very unexpected. I was very surprised and also pleased with the reaction of her fellow members.
Yeah.
I think when you come into a space and you are seen as I'm
A disruptor?
assuming
A
here,
disruptor?
but or a crazy activist, as so many people like to call anybody that doesn't choose to eat animals.
Yeah.
It was so different to that.
Yeah.
She was actually hugged by members of the Labor Party.
I watched it. I wasn't there in person, but I did watch it, and I was actually quite moved just from seeing it on TV. So I can't imagine what the energy must have been like.
Yeah. So hopefully she will share things with her fellow members and raise awareness, if nothing else, that it just gives 4 years of awareness to these people.
Broadens some perspectives.
Absolutely.
At least,
Opens discussions.
Congrats to Amanda. And if you want to have a listen, we interviewed Amanda in episode 34. But today it's not Amanda, it's the president of Animal Justice Party, Bruce Poon, is joining us.
Yep.
Can't wait to have a chat with him.
Yeah.
I met him at the election night, tally night party.
Yes.
He's a
dinner.
lovely bloke. I've rarely met someone, maybe besides you, Mel, and Jem, that's so committed, has committed his entire existence to protecting and looking after animals.
Yeah.
So that'll be a good chat.
No, it will be.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
I have to mention as well that our wonderful sponsors are back on board.
Woohoo!
Isn't that nice?
It is.
Henry
It's
Houndwear.
lovely. They're great.
It's what the hounds are all wearing. What is it, Mel? What's the tagline that you love?
All the best dressed hounds.
All the best dressed hounds are
Henry
wearing.
Houndwear.
And our houndies, my girl and my boy, Bunny and Bo, they strut around in Henry Houndwear gear.
Very cute.
They look gorgeous. They're better dressed than me. So go check them out, Henry Houndwear.
I'm just so bummed because my girl will
honestly,
not.
this is too soon, Mel. I'll tell you who's bummed right now.
I know you are.
Yeah.
Hey, no, but Gina will not wear anything.
Yeah.
I put a coat on her last night and she sat there and whimpered at me until I took it off. So I cannot.
Won't even wear Henry Houndwear.
Nothing.
Jesus Christ, you're missing out.
I know, and I'm upset.
Go and have a look at their website because they've got amazing stuff. It's really good. It's all handmade. It's delicious clothing, frankly.
Yeah.
Mel, what else is going on? What's happening? Is anything going on in Free the Hounds world?
Yes, there is. Georgia the Grey comes home to stay.
Written by
Hannah, who was with us when Lily Longnose brought her first book out. Hannah read that. But Hannah has gone on to write her own book about her houndie, her singing houndie, Georgia the Grey.
Yep.
And oh my God, I love it. And inside the cover, it's signed by both Hannah and Georgia. And it's Georgia's little paw print.
It's a portograph, apparently.
It is.
A portograph.
A portograph.
And there's also Lily Longnose, the fashion star, written by Emily, who we've also had on the show.
That's right. Yeah.
We've said episode 5, we said hello to Emily and Hannah.
Yeah.
And you can go back to episode 17. And we had kids talking couch potatoes, Hannah and Layla.
That's right.
And then again, Lily Longnose special, episode 28, we had a chat to Emily too.
When Emily brought the song out.
Yeah, they're very good friends of Free the Hounds and the podcast.
And that's Lily Longnose's second book.
Ooh, and where can you get it, Mel?
You can get these on Free the Hounds website and via social media.
Yep. Any questions, you could also send us an email at
absolutely.
podcast@freethehounds.com.au. We should have him back on the show to read
we will.
What do you think?
We will. We have a very exciting episode coming up soon, which is a kids round table, which is going to be a video recording as well. And so we will show pictures of this on there, awesome. And we might even get some of the kids to read
little bits. I might cry. Am I going to cry again, Mel? Because
probably.
I shed a couple of tears because it was a bit...
Yeah.
It was moving. All right, what else?
Okay, so this is a statement that we hear lots.
Oh, is it a dopey dick argument, Mel?
Yes. We did actually have a post on social media that said that.
Yeah.
Don't be like Dick.
Don't be like Dick. Don't be a dopey dick.
Don't be a dopey dick.
I don't mean to be rude, but some of these spurious arguments they bring up, the pro racers, they need to be debunked, Mel.
Yes, they do. Well, this one is how the dog racing industry supports thousands of jobs.
I've heard this.
Now, we're not talking thousands of jobs. It's absolutely untrue.
Yep. So what are we talking? Because I remember in episode 14, for our listeners who want to go to the back catalogue, Sebastian Broadhurst came in and did an economic review, and he spoke about some of the dodgy figures that are presented by the industry.
They were his words, yep.
Yeah.
He got his figures to rebut their statements from the Australian Bureau of Statistics.
Yeah,
so they certainly don't have the number of figures that Racing and Wagering come up with. But Free the Hounds, under Freedom of Information, have the actual figures for 23-24 financial year on the number of participants.
Yep.
So we ask them for individual numbers for the co-owners, the lessees or syndicates, trainers and breeders, because they have them separated. But the issue is that where you have a repeat name across multiple roles, they count the name 1, 2, 3, 4 times. So you might be a part of 4 syndicates and an owner of your own dog, and you're counted 5 times.
Yeah, right.
Which is, so
that's interesting.
But if you look at just the figures, there's 903 people that say that they're involved in it as a hobby.
Okay, so there's 900 odd hobbyists. So they're not going to lose any kind of livelihood if the industry's phased out.
No, because it's a hobby.
All right, so let's take care of that one.
Yeah, so that's... Forget those 903 people. If they were actually individuals, which we know they're not.
So that could be half or a quarter of that number because they get counted multiple times.
Correct.
Okay.
And then those that have put in an ABN, there is only 54 people. And that's not even people. That's could be, again, across
multiple counts.
Counts, exactly. So now what Free the Hounds then also did was ask them, of that 54, how many actual individual ABNs do you have?
Yep.
And they have 46. Yep. So at the most, there would be 46 people
who
claim this as some sort of income.
Some sort of primary income even, potentially? Or,
Well, most of the big kennels we know also have boarding kennels alongside them for regular dogs, for other breeds. So you would assume that they would continue that.
So correct me if I'm wrong, Mel, but there's millions and millions of taxpayer dollars getting poured into this industry to prop it up, right?
Yeah.
And that is supporting, on publicly available stats, no more than around 50-odd people in the state.
Correct.
That seems like a lot of money for 50 people. And it doesn't seem like a lot of heartache, really, if we have a transition plan out.
Exactly.
Even if it went as badly as possible. And I wouldn't want this, but worst case scenario, it affects 50 people in a state of how many? What do we got in WA?
Getting on for 3 million.
Yeah.
And then you've also got the fact that anybody that is employed within the WA Greyhound Racing Association or within Racing and Wagering WA, Racing WA as they go by now, they are already employed by the government. So they could easily be moved into other government departments.
Yeah.
And for example, the WA Greyhound Racing Association had at one point, I don't know whether she's still there, but their financial controller was on secondment from the health department.
Yeah.
So there's one person that goes straight back to their other department.
So why on substantive role.
Exactly. And they claim that they can't take annual leave because they don't have enough people to cover the roles while they're away. They obviously don't have that many people if they can't keep going and let people even take a holiday.
That's such a minuscule number, isn't it?
It is.
Even I'm a bit shocked by that. I knew it wasn't a huge community and economy supporting industry. But if it comes down to 50-odd people in the entire state who might be affected by the phase-out, we could sort them out pretty easily, couldn't we?
Absolutely.
That's not tough.
And the only other thing, I guess, is the vets or those like the pet supplies, the food supplies, a lot of these people get their food from the abattoirs direct. We know that all of the on-track vets work at other practices.
Yep.
Some of them, you know, at the moment they breed greyhounds within those practices. So there will be a little income lost, but you're going to have still greyhounds out in the community that need care.
Yeah.
You're still going to continue to breed greyhounds. So,
Yeah.
and as far as pet supplies and all that, the ones that are out there still got to eat.
Yeah, we're still going to
lose their income.
No, and the other thing was maybe the hospitality staff and that kind of stuff.
Again, they're employed within the government.
And then also, Mel, you were saying that with these giant bits of land that we're currently using to race these poor creatures around, we could turn that into a really community,
absolutely,
restaurants and fun parks and whatever, and that's going to create, I would imagine, even more jobs.
Absolutely.
So the argument that this is some big economic boon for the community that will be decimated if we end it, it's just not true, right?
No. And the tax that the government get from wagering, greyhound racing is such a tiny part of the betting tax.
And they'll go bet on something else.
Absolutely.
There won't even
100%.
be that's bollocks. There won't be. I'm a little bit of a gambler myself, and there's plenty of things to gamble on in this country. Way too many things, really.
And gambling tax is only about 3% of the whole annual tax income for our government.
And then also you minus away the millions of dollars that's currently being poured into the industry to prop it up. So that's going to be a positive on the ledger.
Yep.
Seems fairly straightforward to me. If you think we've missed something there, let us know. Give us,
Please do.
Come on the podcast if you like. If you reckon we've got our figures wrong, good luck to you. But come and say g'day if you've got a different opinion.
And that's why we really push for an inquiry, because we don't understand it. So please, someone understand it, because nobody within the government that we've been to can give us an articulate answer either.
WA is the only state, I believe, Mel, that hasn't had an inquiry into this industry.
One of the only.
If you really want to stand by your argument that this industry should continue, then you shouldn't really fear having a good look at it then. Just 100%. That way, it might even benefit you. Then people like us will have to nick off if we have a really good look at it. And it says, no, everything's hunky-dory, mate. Yep. Everything's schmick. It's running great. You'll still have to face the dead dogs and broken legs. If you have a look at it and it works out, no, this is economically viable. It contributes to the state, contributes to the community. It's culturally, whatever, they're valid. Yep. Then you can carry on your own little way. So why not have an in-depth inquiry?
Yep, absolutely. I say that a lot, don't I? I've noticed that.
Frankly, you do, Mel.
I know. I've got to stop.
Okay, Mel, it's time now to have a chat to Bruce Poon, who is the national president, Mel, of the Animal Justice Party. Again, big shout out to our newest member in WA, Amanda Dorn. Might ask him about Amanda.
Yes.
Bruce used to be a bunch of things. He was an IT specialist, project manager, CEO, but he's given up basically paid work and committing all his time to volunteer to support, protect, save animals. He's not only national president of the AJP, Animal Justice Party, he's also involved with the Animal Justice Foundation, which is a fundraising body to put some money power behind animal justice issues. He also, in his spare time, what's left of it, helps run expeditions to Nepal to help animals through the Aussie Action Abroad group, an NGO that he helped establish. So he's a very busy activist advocate, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely, and would have my dream job, I think. He does my dream job. I'd love to be able to do that.
We get to chat to him.
Absolutely.
G'day, Bruce. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for chatting today.
Hi, Bruce. Thank you so much for being a part of our podcast.
A pleasure.
I mentioned, Bruce, that we just had something remarkable and historic happened here in our home state of WA with the first ever Member of Parliament for the Animal Justice Party, Amanda Dorn. You must be pretty pleased about that.
Yeah, we're super thrilled about that. To have somebody in WA joining our MPs in New South Wales and Victoria it's a long-held dream. We've been working at that for a very long time. We ran in the election 4 years ago and 4 years before that. But, the system changed and we grew and ran a very effective election this time and absolutely stoked, as I know everybody over there is, to get Amanda in and really looking forward to her getting a lot of things done.
Yeah, we were talking earlier, Bruce, about her inaugural speech in Parliament and how well that was received and by other members of Parliament and how inspirational it was. So it's quite exciting, isn't it, to have that kind of voice that hasn't been in Parliament before, a true voice for the animals.
I think Amanda was really keen to say, let's all do this together. Let's come with me and go on a journey and let's make some change that helps animals. It was very much, nothing happens in Parliament without a majority. She was really reaching out to people to say, do you want better things for animals or not?
Yeah, I was saying to Matt earlier, I was at her speech up in the gallery, and the way that the other MPs reacted to her speech, I felt really enlightened by. I thought because her speech was so inclusive and not at all abrasive, it was just about facts and about if we want to make change, we can do it together, no matter what that change is, or at least it was just also about educating people on what they may not know. And it was really good to see politicians from the other side actually get up and give her a hug. So I'm hoping things will change.
It's a good start. It's a good start at least. Yeah.
It was really exciting.
Bruce, how did you first become involved with Animal Justice Party? It sounds like you've had quite the sort of varied journey through life. What brought you to the AJP?
Well, I wanted to help animals. I guess I became vegetarian once I moved out of home and vegan soon after. So that's been about 40 years of me changing my own diet to help animals. But that doesn't take any time at all, really. I wanted to actually dedicate some time of my own to doing more. And so I got involved in activism and I did a lot of different things, for everything from doing lectures and producing pamphlets and all the sort of things you can do on social media, through to rallies and rescue and hidden cameras and all of that sort of thing. And I was happy to do all of that work. I did whatever I could. Well, of course, still working and doing what I was doing to develop my career and so on. The problem was, we just weren't winning enough.
Right.
And it's frustrating to do all of this work and then just feel like you're
not gaining ground.
Winning occasionally, you're not gaining ground, you're not helping enough animals.
Yeah.
And that's what drew me into politics, is to try and improve the effectiveness of it all. It just seemed like very often, oh no, you can't do that because the law says this and the politicians say that, and we better get in there then and deal with them. And this will surprise you, but a long time ago I decided I'm going to get into politics to help animals. So I joined the Greens.
Right. Okay.
And I got stuck in there and figured out how they do politics and met some great people in the Greens who agreed with me that animals deserve better. And I worked on various working groups and we tried to change their policy. Ultimately, I was a little bit thwarted, I feel, by some of their politicians who just felt ultimately that talking about animals wasn't popular and therefore not really core to what they wanted to be doing.
Yeah.
I was, again, working hard but felt a bit frustrated. And so then we had the really interesting thing happen of parties starting for animals. So it first happened in the Netherlands, the Party for the Animals. One representation, I think it was in about 2005, something like that. And they really have been a model for everyone and an inspiration for everyone around the world. It's like, oh, well, if they can do it there, maybe we can do it here.
Yeah. And
it did, in fact, inspire others to start the Animal Justice Party. And I wasn't there in the room when it was started, but I did join it in 2012. I left the Greens and joined the Animal Justice Party and found a sort of a small growing party with 10 people in a room, but there were maybe 100 members, and there was lots of written material about why we existed, and that was all good. and a great group of people putting a party together, and I just joined them and have never looked back.
And you're definitely on your way now. 3 members of Parliament, New South Wales, Victoria and WA now.
Yeah.
Can I just quickly ask, were you always like this as a kid, where you just had this affinity for animals or this desire to protect and save and support? Or is that something that came to you a bit later?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question. I mean, my parents are not vegan. Well, I've only got one left, but
yeah,
he's not vegan. But they brought me up with a set of values that said you need to care about others, and you've got the golden rule, and you need to think about how your actions affect others, not be, cruel to others, I guess. And, well, shouldn't be cruel to animals either. And, they're in the great majority of people who would agree with you, who would agree with me. You shouldn't be cruel to animals.
Yeah.
But their diet is not something that they're prepared to change.
Yeah.
And that's where we are. I'm very grateful to my parents for providing me a loving and stable home to grow up in. And, I took the lessons they taught me and turned around and became an animal activist.
Yeah.
Which probably confused them a lot.
I don't know. I kind of agree with that. If you think of sort of what rationale to live your life by, or what sort of set of principles, if you come back to the golden rule, do unto others as you would have others do unto you, it covers everything, doesn't it? And if we apply that to animals, it makes it a bit more simple in terms of how to approach things.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's going on with AJP and the Animal Justice Foundation? What are some of the big campaigns that you're focusing on at the moment?
Well, it's very diverse. We have a lot of different things in Victoria. We have failed in our campaign to get duck shooting banned, but we've worked very hard on it and changed a lot of hearts and minds, both inside Victoria but also inside the Parliament. And that's one very frustrating campaign, because we really felt that we had not just worked hard, but we'd won the campaign, only to then find that there was a change in Premier, and the Premier's being very unhelpful about it, and we still have a duck season. We have to keep fighting. Victoria is very much on the back foot in that one.
That kind of, those vicissitudes of politics that you have to work with. In WA, we've been pushing for an inquiry into the greyhound industry, and you do all this work, you get all these signatures, you get petitions, you get members on side, and then all of a sudden there's an election, and almost you've got to strike while the iron's hot, and the iron cools down a bit, and you're back to doing all this work again.
It's a lot of work, and you have to be very aware of politics is its own game. It's got its own cycles and its own personalities, and sometimes you can make remarkable breakthroughs, and sometimes, you're just frustrated.
You're just slogging away.
So we aim to get better at all of this and win more political power and use that power, because I'm sick of begging. We need power, and we need to be able to deploy that power to make things happen.
Yep, spot on. Have you noticed, though, in your time working in politics and in animal advocacy and activism, do you think there is beginning to be a shift in the attitude towards animals and their welfare? What's your sense of how big that shift is, if it's happening, if it's going in the right direction?
Yeah, I think there is a growing awareness over my whole life about these issues. There are more and more people involved in trying to help animals. There are more and more vegetarians and vegans existing in the world.
Yeah, for sure.
There are sort of ups and downs about what that market looks like. Everyone knows what vegan is, and everyone will give you an option, whatever cafe, bakery, restaurant you're in, they will provide options. But it turns out that hasn't worked for some of the dedicated vegan restaurants. Vegans don't need to go to them anymore. I try and support them when I can.
Yeah.
So I think that it's growing. It's obviously too slow. We want change. We think it's urgent. It is urgent for a lot of animals, because they're facing the very worst outcomes imminently.
Yeah.
So we need to fight for change as quickly as we can. I'm sure, I don't know, maybe in 50 years' time, we'll all look back on the world and go, I can't believe that's what they did.
Yeah.
Yes. They'll look back on greyhound racing and go, why did it take so long to ban? And can you believe what these people did back in the day?
I've often thought, I know it sounds hyperbolic, but it compares in some way to sort of, the days of slavery when we used to think it was okay to commodify human beings. And it might be a stretch in some people's eyes, but the idea that we commodify these greyhounds and we allow them to be killed and injured. I mean, look at the Q racetrack that hadn't even opened yet in Brisbane. And I think there's been 8 dogs already killed just in trials.
Yeah, that's right. Obviously, you're talking about slavery, and it's no stretch for me. I'm very familiar with that analogy. And I can imagine, in the future, just as we look back on Jefferson and the like and go, he seemed like a pretty enlightened fella, a great man of American history, but he had hundreds of slaves, and how did that really work in his mind?
Yeah.
How does it work in people's mind now?
Yeah.
That they are perhaps great people in their own way and working for non-violence and better treatment of people and so on, but some barrier in their mind to treating animals properly.
Yeah. And I mean, the argument that we can't superimpose a cultural paradigm or mindset on generations past, I think we have to admit that this is anachronistic at best, that we still do this. We have all the information we need. There's no excuse to say that this is still culturally relevant in any way. It's not economically viable. It stuns me that we're still building new tracks, let alone not shutting it down, building new tracks. It boggles my brain.
It's so out of kilter with the rest of the world, which are shutting down tracks at a furious rate.
Yeah.
Just talking about greyhounds, obviously I'm familiar with what's happening here in Victoria as much as anywhere. Our MP here, Georgie Purcell, has been, first of all, seeking information and transparency. So changing the rules around racing so that we get a lot more clarity about what's actually happening. And I'll just give you an example. We have them reporting how many dogs die on the track. And so to avoid dogs dying on the track, they were taking wounded dogs and taking them away in great pain and keeping them somewhere else in great pain and then killing them some days later. And then that wasn't a dog dying on the track.
Oh, geez.
And so we're saying, well, you have to report those deaths as well. It's just as relevant, if not worse, than it's a dog that's died because of the industry. So there's a lot more reporting, a lot more statistics being kept, and a lot more looking transparently at the industry. And that will help to just obviate the case about why this industry should go. We, like most states, will work towards some sort of parliamentary inquiry to just get the facts on the table and put the case again to the Parliament that time's up.
Yeah. Big shout out to Georgie Purcell. If anyone wants to listen to an awesome human being, an amazing advocate and politician, Georgie Purcell, go back and listen to episode 2. Bruce, you mentioned that some of the good work that they're doing in Victoria to try and shine more of a light and to get some more transparency and accountability. What's your sense of what's happening around Australia in terms of the states that are making some progress maybe or doing a little better and some of the states that maybe are stagnating or falling behind?
Well, we generally don't see states and parliaments doing much on their own if we're not pushing them. The work that our party can do is very much scaled by how much presence we have in the parliament. Our people in Queensland do good work, but it's scaled down compared to what we can in New South Wales, where we have an MP. We'll push very hard in New South Wales through Emma Hurst, in Victoria through Georgie, and in WA now through Amanda to see action on this and other things. We will push for parliamentary inquiry in WA, I'm sure, and Amanda, is working very hard on the greyhound issue because I think the chances of reform there are as good as anywhere.
Yep.
Where we're not, I frankly don't expect anything good to happen. I'll be very pleasantly surprised if it does, but without us in Parliament and advocating, we're just left with the other NGOs doing their best. But if they can make a breakthrough, good, but I isn't really expecting it.
Yeah. Bruce, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the podcast. Really appreciate talking to people who put their money where their mouth is, because through the AJF, I know that you're trying to get some money power. Through your work with the AJP, you're trying to get some political power, and through just donating your own time and energy to various things in terms of supporting and protecting and saving animals. You're a triple threat is what I'm trying to say. You've got the heart, the head and the hip pocket all lined up to support animals. Did you have any sort of final thoughts, I guess particularly for the podcast, around greyhound racing in WA and across Australia, in terms of what you feel that advocates and activists and just the general public can do in terms of supporting the phasing out or ending of this so-called sport?
Yeah, well, we all need to work together is the point. Everybody who wants animals and greyhounds to have a better life needs to be working together. We can be in the same room at times and talk about how to work together. And we have a model of campaigning that says very clearly, as part of the way we campaign, that the party is not everything. We campaign with others because we aren't necessarily the people to do the education work or the investigation work. We aren't necessarily the people that does boycotts and so on.
Yep.
But we are the people that do the work in Parliament and with the ministers to change regulations and legislation.
Yep.
And so the whole movement of people who want change, they need to work together. And Amanda's then our spearhead in Parliament to get the final nail in the coffin.
Yeah, I love that idea of all collaboration, communication. It's all for the cause. It's all for the end results. Bring the advocates together with the activists, together with the hardcore progressives, together with the people who are more practical minded and do the work on legislation. We need the whole group to get together and act as a sort of a force rather than creating divisions within that arena.
The division within our own ranks is death. We don't want that. We can certainly disagree about lots of things, but I think those who want to see dogs treated better, if we can just agree on that and work on the tactics and the strategy going forward, there's not much can stand in front of us, really.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess the other point for me is that all vegans and animal activists, we need to have a win, in a sense, to progress animal rights in general. And in a sense, ending greyhound racing is potentially the low-hanging fruit.
I think so. It's the same with animal racing in general. What we've done for many years is we've worked at the edges. We've worked at 2-year-old racing and jumps racing, which are unbelievably cruel and dangerous practices. And the industry says, no, we're not giving up any of those things. Well, okay, but, when the papers have then asked the public, well, what do you think about horse racing in general? We now have a majority of people saying it should be ended.
Yeah, right.
They don't give any ground, okay, but they're just becoming less and less popular every year. And, I mean, there's no boost to the economy. Yeah. From all of this cruelty. Change can suddenly happen quickly sometimes, and it'll everyone will say it was inevitable, but as you know, it's a long fight.
Yeah. And I mean, you're talking about trying to work with the industry for a controlled and gentle phase out, and if they're shutting their ears to it, putting their blinkers on, so to speak, then when it suddenly knocks you sideways, that's the way it goes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bruce, so much for your time today. It's been brilliant having a chat with you. I hope that we can talk again at some point, Mel. Would be nice.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you so much, Bruce. That was interesting to listen to.
Well, lovely to talk to you, and thank you so much for getting the word out about how we could all help the greys.
Absolutely. And as Matt said, maybe we could get you back in a year or something and just see how things are going for AJP here in WA, because we are all really excited to have you guys in Parliament finally. It's just a great win.
Yeah, and you should invite our MP over there onto your show.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, she's been on before. It was just prior to the election that came out.
So.
Okay. I actually believe, Bruce, that the appearance on the podcast was the thing that bumped her over the line, frankly. I
think that was probably it, yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Bruce. We will definitely chat again, and have a lovely day.
All right, take care.
Thanks,
See you, Bruce.
Bye.
Cheers, bye.
Mel, that was yet another insightful, educative, informative, you name it, chat with someone who, as I said, really puts his money in his heart and his head where his mouth is.
Really lovely human. I remembered when we were speaking to him that the first time that I actually spoke with Bruce was when he called me to say that Free the Hounds had won the Activist Award through the
Animal Justice Foundation.
Yeah, and I cried on the phone to him because I couldn't believe it. And also because I didn't know that Alan had nominated us.
Ah, Alan. Good on you, Alan.
Yeah, so that was a real shock. But yeah.
Oh, wow. So you've got a bit of a relationship going back already.
Yeah, a very teary phone call.
Teary phone call. Yeah, thanks, Bruce. That was awesome. And definitely we'll have a chat to Bruce again at some point, and Amanda, and love to chat with Georgie again. And Emma. We've had a chat with Emma already, haven't we?
No, we haven't had Emma on. We'll try and maybe get her on.
Yeah, that'd be good. All right. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll see you in a couple of weeks, or hear you. You'll hear us in a couple of weeks. Please keep listening, everyone, so we can together release the hounds.